and then reflect that in the code of conduct. But you cannot have a constitution and existing law and then come up with something that is distinctly different. It raises a lot of complications.
Mr. Daniel Domonovo feels the president's approach is much more effective, but because in his case, when he was in public office, he realized that most persons who are reported to Chraj, usually investigations are done, and Chraj basically issues go back and declare, go back and see no more, kind of, that there are no proper sanctions under the law. That he feels that the president's way looks much more efficient until the law changes.
No. I mean, if you have existing institutions of state within the legal framework, constitutionally established, you cannot just ignore them and say, I'll set up my own rules and govern. No, that's not appropriate. It reminds me of when the former president refused to assent to the proper Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill. It was unconstitutional. It's like people are just coming up with their own rules and ignoring what the Constitution says. We don't want that to happen. That, in one sense, is a form of impunity. So you cannot do that. You've got to engage the institution. If you think they're not performing, make sure that you work together with them. And civil society has done that over and over again. You know, if you take the issue of surcharging and disallowance, it took, civil society going to court together with the former Auditor General. And so Mr. Daniel Domonovo knows this. What's the name of that group that went to court to get the surcharges and disallowances?
I think Occupy Ghana.
Occupy Ghana. You are absolutely right. So that's the way to do it. You force the institution to function. You engage them. If they do not take it up, then you go to court and get the court to rule on whether what you are saying is right or not. And then it compels the institution to do what is required of them. And I'm quite sure that Commissioner Joseph Whittle and his team there would be amenable to understanding that we need a stronger sanctions regime. But we cannot just have the government of the day come up with, I think there should be alignment. So yes, we applaud our president for this step, but we can do much more, and it's important that they align with the Constitution and existing law.
So you think the president should work with Chraj urgently to put in a strict sanctions regime which reflects the law, so that next time he just refers it to Chraj and Chraj handles it?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
But
this is an opportunity to strengthen the existing institutions.
But don't you also think, considering the president has the power to hire and fire, he can set the terms and conditions under which you stay within his administration? And for him, one of those terms is, if you fall foul of that law, this is what I'll do to you.
No. If there is a gray area, something that is not already codified in law, and you set out that framework, nobody will begrudge you that. But once law exists, you see, unless you want to become a lawless society, as long as there's a law that has been passed that governs that space, you've got to refer to the law. Can you imagine the confusion where President A comes and sets up his own framework for this thing, ignoring existing law? President B comes and sets up their framework, ignoring existing law, and President C does the same. That's a recipe for disaster. So please, let's not go down that road. We are kindly and gently urging, and you see these things, it's not the president himself, it's the policy analysts that surround the president, the legal brains and advisors who should be thinking through this and galvanizing the men and women who ought to put together these documents to know, and one of the easiest ways is just keep inviting the stakeholders in the sector. They will point out to you the potential pitfalls, highlight what you need to focus on, and you need to, do your best just to factor all of these into the final output and outcomes.
But it seems you're still suggesting that you still think what is done is a good move.
Oh, it's not that I'm still.
Okay.
I am saying that Any president who shows that they are bent on ensuring that their appointees that do the right thing and live above reproach, that is commendable. We are saying that it's one thing to have a certain vision. It's another thing to deploy strategy. At the strategy level, the strategies must align with existing law and the Constitution. And we want to be cautious. We may have been a little more reticent in calling out things when the president spoke initially, because you see his initial comments on March 31st already, as it were, was not aligned with the constitutional position as expressed in Article 286. But now that we've gotten to the point of sanctions, I think it's important to make sure we align. If we continue on this trajectory where we're ignoring the Constitution and existing laws, that is dangerous. So, with all the diplomacy that we want to encourage our president, please. And I know it's not the president. Whoever is advising the president should pay attention to the constitutional provisions and the legal arrangements, just so that we guide these processes and do so appropriately.
Now, having said that, then let me conclude with you on the code of conduct that was launched yesterday. Have you seen the booklet itself? What is contained in there? Have you seen the content?
No. I've only heard the president's voice speaking to it. So I am not as informed. Yeah.
But to put it together and to guide the actions of his appointees in office, what do you make of that move in itself?
Excellent move, good effort. I would just encourage the president again. There is the Code of Public Officers Bill waiting to be finalized by the cabinet of the day, go back to Parliament for the legislator to pass it into law. It's a comprehensive piece of draft legislation. Stakeholders put a lot of effort into it. It is urgently an issue of concern for us in the sector that this should be passed. We need a law so that this is justiciable. We can go to court, hold duty officers, responsible parties are accountable for any failures. What he has done is good for himself in terms of the government of the day as an executive policy. But if we, the people, as Article 1.1 expresses, who have reposed power in them, want to hold his officers accountable, we need law. And so let's move to the next level and also get the COPO passed.
Wait, the Code of Conduct of the Conduct of Public Officers Bill.
Absolutely.
Okay. How long has that been in the works?
Oh, the last government got it to. It was one of the few places where we were very happy because the former Attorney General got it to cabinet, and then they went silent. Even though the previous president had said on 2 occasions, I think the first occasion he said you get us a world-class conduct for public officers law. He said it at one grand event. And then even in November last year, he said, there was still opportunity to get it passed, I think October, before he leaves. But the previous cabinet failed us on that. So, yes, that's where we got to.
Thank you. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
And thank you for having me.
Edem Senanu is co-chair Citizens Movement Against Corruption and Anti-Corruption Campaigner. Join us on the line on this matter. 2 things we're talking about. All is part of the Code of Conduct.